Hey everybody, JC here with another T&I toy review. And for today's review, I'm going to be taking a look at the brand new Mortal Kombat 112 scale Scorpion figure from Storm Collectibles. Now this is a new figure from a new company in Hong Kong. This is the first figure they've released for their 112 scale Mortal Kombat line. It comes packaged in a window box. The figure is clearly displayed. You can see all the accessories down below in the corner. You've got some artwork for the character. You've got the Mortal Kombat video game logo and the name of the character. Off in the right corner, it tells us that this figure is for people ages 17 and older. On the one side of the packaging, we have more of that artwork of Scorpion, and then on the other side, we have just a look at the figure. And then on the back of the packaging, we have a brief bio, and then a look at the figure and the various accessories that come with it. All right, let's get this open and take a look at what's inside. Okay, so here's a look at the figure outside of the packaging along with the other contents. Now, first of all, before we get into the review, let me just say a big thanks to Storm Collectibles for sending this figure out to us early. This figure will be released in the next couple of weeks. You can pre-order it now from places like Big Bad Toy Store. So this figure comes with a number of different accessories, including 4 different pairs of hands, as well as 1 extra right hand. So we get a pair of closed-fisted hands, and these are the ones that are attached to the figure when you first take it out of the packaging. Then we get this pair of semi-open grip hands. Then we get a pair of just regular open hands. And then we have these hands with the fingers straight out, almost like a karate chop. This is also a good hand to use for one of the accessories, the spiked rope that he comes with. And then finally we get this extra right hand that's just a grip hand. And I like the detailing. You've got the little padding on the top of the hand, and this is done with a dark brown color. It looks almost metallic, and you've got some wash effect to give it some scratch marks and stuff. And then I like the skin tone on the fingers and everything. I think that looks good. You can see his even nice sculpting detail with the little fingernails and everything. Switching out the hands is easy. You just pop off the hand you want to replace. Now this is a double peg type system for the hands, so the peg will come off. You've got the little peg on both sides that plugs into the arm and to the hand. So if when you're pulling the hand off, the peg comes out with the hand, you can just pull it off of the hand. And then what you want to do is just plug in the hand you want to replace it with, and then you can plug that back into the arm. And then it should snap in there nice and tight. Now also, just to note, he's got these wrist guards, and these are actually separate pieces as well. So when you pop the hand off, you can actually take these off, and these are done with kind of a rubber type material. And again, it's done with that brown color with the wash effect, so it kind of looks like metal plating, and it matches nicely with that of the pads on the hand. We get 2 different head sculpts with this figure. We get the regular head, and with the regular head, you also get 2 different masks. So you get the mask that you see him wearing in the first Mortal Kombat game, and this basically doesn't have any markings. It looks more like a cloth type cover for his face. And I like how that you've got the sculpting detail. You can actually kind of make out his nose there. So that's actually part of the sculpt of the mask. And then what you want to do is you can just pull the mask off. There's a little peg on the inside of the mask. He does have this hole, so when you remove the mask, the face does look a little bit funny. But then you get the second mask, which is more in keeping with his appearance in the second Mortal Kombat game. And you've got the little vents that are painted in black. And so this, again, is to mimic his look in the second Mortal Kombat game. And I kind of like this one a little bit better than the one from the first game. And then overall, I like this head sculpt. Now, this figure contains a lot of this kind of soft vinyl rubbery type material. So the hood, the neck piece, the shirt, and then the outer yellow tunic are all kind of that rubber type material. So I like the detailing on this. I like the sculpting. I think it looks good. I think how the hood fits on the head looks good. I also like how the eyes look with the whited eyes and the red outlines. And then I like how they've got the wrinkles on his forehead. We then get the second head sculpt, which is to mimic his fatality move when he rips off his face and it's just a skull to breathe out fire. And I think they've done a really nice job with the sculpting on this one as well, and the paint applications. You've got all these little black divots throughout the skull to make it look like it's bone, and I like the sculpting on the teeth, and I like the black paint in the eyes and the nose and everything. And then the jaw on this head sculpt is actually articulated, so you can open the mouth, which I think is cool. To switch out the heads, it's easy. You just pop it off. It's attached with a ball joint, and then you just take the second head and pop it on, and it should snap right into place and fit nice and tight. Now with this alternate head, again, this is to mimic his fatality move. So they've also included these two flame effects. And so these are done with translucent plastic with orange and yellow type coloring. And so what you do with this is you kind of want to just kind of bend the figure over and open the mouth. And then you can take this bottom piece, which is kind of a base, and then take this longer piece and stick it in there, and then stick the thin end in his mouth so it looks like he's breathing out the fire. Fatality. So the final accessories that we get with this figure are meant to mimic his signature move in the video game where he shoots out the spiked rope and grabs somebody with it and pulls it back to him. So we get two different versions of this. We get the extended version, and this is to shoot, so it looks like he's shooting it out of his hand. And so on one end you've got this little loop or ring so you can put it around the figure's wrist. And then the rope itself is done with just a dark brown plastic. You've got some nice sculpting detail with the ridges and everything to make it look like it's rope. And this is done with a pretty flexible plastic. You can bend it a little bit. And then on the other end you've got this metallic silver spike, which is nice and pointy, and then you've got some nice blood splatter, red blood splatter on the tip of it. And with this one, what you want to do is you just remove one of the figure's hands. It can be the left or the right, and then you just kind of slide that rope over it, and then you just plug the hand back in, and so it looks like he's shooting the rope out of his hand. So again, a pretty cool effect that they've given with the figure so you can mimic one of his main moves in the video game. And then with the second rope, which is rolled up and everything, you can just put it in one of the grip hands so it looks like he's holding it to his side after he's done his business. So for the figure itself, I'm really glad that Storm Collectibles decided to go with the more classic look for these characters. I always liked the Mezco line, but was never a fan of the Mortal Kombat X look for most of them. So definitely glad that we're getting classic looks with this new line. As I mentioned before, I do like the head sculpt. I like the detailing with the face and everything. I think that looks good. I like how you can switch out the masks. And then with most of this figure for the outfit, they've used this kind of rubber type soft material. So this outer yellow tunic is actually a separate piece. You can actually kind of pull this down. So I like that. And then I like how the ridges are sculpted. The yellow part, that's all sculpted in there. And you got the nice detailing on the back as well. And then the neck piece that covers the neck joint is actually a separate piece from the head, which I like that, so it allows you to move the head, and I'll show you that in a minute when we look at the articulation. And then the undershirt is actually also kind of that kind of rubber material as well. So definitely it's kind of a unique figure in that regard. He's got this soft material again that hangs down over his waist and everything. And then the pants are just sculpted, and he's got the shin guards, and I like the wash effect on the yellow there. I think that looks good, and just nice sculpting detail overall. And I like even with the feet, you can see, make out the toes there. So for articulation, I think this figure has good movement. The head you can turn to the left and to the right, and he can look down good. You get movement at the top of the neck and the bottom of the neck, and then you can pivot the head to the left and the right as well. Now as far as looking back, you can actually get him to look back really good. However, that's about as far as you can get the head to stay. You have this neck piece, as I mentioned before, is done with that kind of soft rubber material, and I do like the fact that they made this a separate piece so it's not actually connected to the body or the head, even though it does look like it is. So I like that it basically conceals the joints and everything nicely. But if you try and push the head back too much, that rubber piece kind of pushes the head back to a more straight looking position. But again, you can actually get the head to look back pretty good. And then for the arms are attached with your standard ball hinge joint there at the shoulder. So let me just kind of remove this piece so you can see the shoulder joint. Now, one thing about these figures is they've actually made it so they're pretty easy to pop off joints, and actually with some figures down the road, like they're also going to be doing Street Fighter figures here soon in the same scale, and they're going to do figures where they have like alternate arms and stuff. So they've actually made it so you can pop off the arms and such pretty easily. They're just attached with a ball joint. So like here, I'll remove it. So you can see you've got the ball joint here, and this shoulder piece is actually removable. So, and you can see where it plugs in there. So you've got a pretty good range of movement. It's basically a butterfly type joint. But one thing I do want to note, initially when I first took this figure out of the packaging, I had some difficulty with the right arm and it staying in the socket. And what I had to do is I had to kind of fool around with that shoulder piece and adjust it. And once I did that, it actually stays in much tighter. So if you do have an issue with like a joint popping out real easy, you might want to just play around with it a little bit. But overall, again, I really like the articulation and the movement with the figure. So you can get the arm out good with this, and he's got good rotation. And again, because the tunic piece is that kind of rubber material, it doesn't limit the movement there. And he's got a bicep swivel. And as I mentioned, he's got the butterfly joint, so you've got the back and forth movement with the arm. And then you've got this double hinge type elbow. It's a little bit different than what we see on most 6-inch figures, but essentially it works like a double jointed elbow. So he's got good bending there, and he's got rotation at the wrist, and he's got the ball joint there at the wrist. So you've got good movement there, back and forth, or you can turn the ball joint, so he's got up and down movement. And then he's got a midsection joint here, and so you've got rotation there. Now you do get a little bit of restrictive movement because this outer tunic piece is a separate piece. So when you're like rotating, it does limit some of the movement, but still overall you can get pretty good rotation there. And then he can crunch forward good, he can look down good, and he can look back pretty good as well. So good movement overall there at the midsection. He also has a waist swivel. And again, you can kind of pivot to the left and the right there at the waist. For the legs, they're just attached with ball joints, so he can do the splits good, and he can get his leg forward good, and he can do his leg back pretty good as well. And then it's not a true thigh swivel, but you've got a swivel up there, up high with those ball joints, so he does have rotation up there. And then he's got a double hinged knee, so he can bend his knee really well. And then he's got the feet are just attached with ball joints, so you've got some back and forth movement, you've got rotation, and you got a little bit of pivot, not what I call true ankle pivot, but you do get a little bit of rocking back and forth. And then it has toe articulation as well. No peg holes on the bottom of the feet. So this figure stands just a little bit under 7 inches tall. Here's a comparison with a few other 6-inch Mortal Kombat figures from other toy companies. So we have the Jazzware Scorpion figure, and then we have the more recent Mortal Kombat X Scorpion figure from Mezco Toys. Here's a comparison with some older Soda Toys Street Fighter 6-inch figures. Here's a comparison with a few other various 6-inch lines. So we've got a Hasbro Marvel Legends figure, a Hasbro Black Series Star Wars figure, an SH Figure Arts Star Wars figure, a Mattel Multiverse figure, and a DC Collectibles Batman Animated Series figure. And then finally, here's some 7-inch scale video game based figures from other toy companies. So we've got the McFarlane Toys Color Top Titanfall figure. We've got NECA's Uncharted figure, DC Collectibles Batman Arkham figure, and then another NECA figure with the Kratos figure. Okay, so that's my review. So overall, I really like this figure. As I mentioned before, Storm Collectibles is a relatively new company, and this is a brand new figure line, and I think they've done a really good job with it as far as the construction of the figure. The joints seem really sturdy. I wasn't worried about them breaking or anything like that. I like the overall look of the figure, has good articulation, nice accessories. Paint applications are pretty decent as well. So I think if you're a fan of the Mortal Kombat game franchise, this is a figure you're definitely going to want to add to your collection. Now this figure will be released soon, within the next few weeks. It is available for pre-order at places like Big Bad Toy Store. We'll have a full image gallery up at toynewseye.com. There'll be a link in the video description below. As always, leave a comment, let us know what you think. If you're so inclined, please like the video. Also, if you haven't already, please follow me on my Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram accounts. I'll have links to those in the video description as well. And until next time, I'll catch you later.